Siliconcrib, Sri Lanka, happens all the time. From the studios of Siliconcrib in Kandy, it's time for ITV. This is GCE, Ordinary Level Support Program 2020. Let's begin.
Welcome to the Literature Circle. Today I am talking about certain guidelines which may become handy when you are dealing with Part 1, Section A of Appreciation of English Literary Texts. So I would like to start off with the format of the paper. Secondly, I need to talk about certain guidelines. Finally, let's go through some examples. So the English literature paper is a 3-hour paper. It has 2 parts, Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 is divided into 2 sections, Section A and Section B. As you know, Part 2 consists of essay-type questions, which are organized under different genres, such as poetry, prose, drama, and fiction. So you need to write only 4 questions from Part 2. Part 1 consists of Section A and Section B. Section A includes 6 compulsory context questions, and these context questions are based on different genres, poetry, prose, and drama. So you need to answer 2 questions on poetry, 2 on prose, and 2 on drama. Each question is allocated 5 marks and you can score 30 marks for Part 1, Section A. Am I clear? Then let's proceed. As you know, Section B is based on fiction. There are 3 prescribed novels. Bringing Tony Home by Tissa Besekara, a Sri Lankan novel. The English novel, The Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain. And of course, there's an Indian novel, The Vendor of Sweets by R.K. Narayan. So due to the time factor, we normally do only 1 novel in school. But you have enough freedom and ample time to go through the rest. So when it comes to the exam, so that you can select the question which is very much comfortable for you to score more marks than the rest. I mean, it's not compulsory, but read and enjoy. So there is a choice. 30 marks are allocated for Section A and 10 marks are allocated for Section B. So altogether 40 marks are allocated for Part 1 of your Appreciation of English Literary Texts. Let me ask this question from you. How would you obtain a very good pass? Or how would you go for a better grade? Well, it's not that difficult. Trust me. First of all, you should have a thorough understanding about the format of the paper, the genre awareness, as well as what is expected from you. So you got to develop certain skills in order to face the Part 1, Section A very well. Critical essays, in Part 2, tests a variety of skills. For example, fast reading skill, skills of inference or reading between the lines, where you need to go beyond what is explicitly or directly stated. In other words, you have to dig deep. You can't just rely on the superficial level of meaning. You need to go for the metaphorical level of meaning. And also you need to look at text very creatively and critically. For that, of course, you need to develop your critical mind or the critical faculties. But in order to do with Part A, you don't have to develop such skills. There are some other skills. Definitely you have to master them. By the way, do you like to know about those skills? Yes, there are 3 major skills. First one, identification. Second one, comprehension. And the third one is inference. Don't worry about the big words. I'll explain them to you all. Now let's study the skills that are required to face Section A context questions. Part 1, Section A, Question 1 has 6 subparts. The subparts are further divided into 3 small parts. The first sub-question, which is A, will test your identification skills. So the familiarity with the text, focusing on the name of the literary work and the author is needed. In other words, you need to identify the name of the literary text along with the writer. Therefore, you can't guess at this stage. You need to be specific and accurate as it directly tests your familiarity with the text. So you are getting only 1 mark for this question. Shall we go through the sub-question B? It will test your comprehensive ability. By the way, how many times have you read your literary text? I mean the genres. Once, twice, thrice? Not enough. In order to be familiarized with the text or whatever the genre, you need to go through them several times with understanding. In other words, a close reading is required. The more you read, the more you become familiar with the text. So to become a very good scorer, you have to follow that guideline. So in order to answer question B, you have to be very much familiar with situations, events. You have to identify the character or the speakers, what they speak about, or their interpersonal relationships and references. If you know these things really well, easily you can go for a very good score. So master that skill, the comprehensive skill, so that you can become a very good scorer. Now let's look at third sub-question C. It has a slightly different format, where certain keywords and phrases like describe, what is your attitude, what can you understand, will tell you that it requires something more than the first and the second one. In that sense, you need to infer the meaning. You need to respond to the given lines by using your own language. So how would you tackle such a question? Maybe sometimes you need to talk about their emotions, attitudes, or techniques. For that, you can directly engage with the text. You can directly engage with the text. Use maximum 2 to 3 lines. Use your own words. Don't try to narrate the situation or to write the entire story just because you know everything. Now always write what is expected from you. Always think what is expected from me. So you have to infer the given lines. You need to respond to the given lines. But you need to be really specific and accurate. Since you are supposed to write 2 to 3 lines, the grammatical structure should be really correct and avoid spelling mistakes. Keep that in mind. So it is a very important guideline. Now it's high time for us to deal with certain tips. Undoubtedly, these tips would become handy to handle the part 1, section A of your English literature paper with confidence. The first tip is capitalization. The title of the relevant work and the name of the author should be written as the way it is given in the syllabus, or else always refer to the content page of your textbook. Now look at this example, the poem The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson. The capital T, capital E, capital A, capital L and capital T. So you got to use capitals when and where necessary by following the syllabus. You can't make changes there. You cannot infer at this stage. Therefore, you have to be really familiar with the syllabus, who the writer is and the name of the relevant text. So spelling should be accurate. Otherwise, you are going to lose marks. The second tip, time management. Have you ever managed your time? It is an important tip. So you got to manage your time. Plan ahead. Now you are given extra 10 minutes to go through the questions, because most of the time the students won't read the questions well. Now don't worry about that, because you are given now extra 10 minutes. For part 2, you need to answer 4 essay type questions and you are getting 60 marks. For that, definitely you need to spare time because you are going to critically analyze, because your critical engagement is necessary. For that, definitely you got to spare time. So it is advisable to allocate 30 minutes to deal with part A. Do not struggle when you come across a difficult question. Leave some space, write the question number and move to the rest, so that you can always come back to the question only if you have managed your time really well. So that is a very important tip. You got to manage your time in advance. The third tip is check-in time. Have you ever checked your time before submission? I guess so. If not, follow this tip. You got to check your answers. It is really important, so that you can figure out your own mistakes, and if you really want to add something, you can do so. If you really want to omit certain things, you can do so. I mean, that time is really necessary for you to do your gap filling. So it's worthwhile to spare 10 minutes to check your answers. Don't write until the last moment. So that would be a very good general tip. You can apply this when and where necessary. Having those guidelines in mind, let's go through some examples. A context question on poetry. We'll sweat no more on scythe and rake, my bloody hands and I. Question A. In which work do these lines appear? Who is the poet? So there are two parts in this question. So always go for the shortest possible answer. Incorporate the two answers in a single phrase. For example, From Farewell to Barn and Stack and Tree by A.E. Housman. But remember the rules of capitalization. I have seen some students prefer to write a complete answer. For example, these lines appear in the poem Farewell to Barn and Stack and Tree by A.E. Housman. It's perfectly alright, but it is not necessary. Spare time and avoid spelling and grammatical errors by writing the specific, accurate answer. Question B. Who are referred to as we? What will they not do? Again, there are two parts. Now, who are referred to as we? The speaker himself and his hands. The speaker himself and his hands are referred to as we. Now, what will they not do? They will not work in the farm anymore. You know the whole story. Yes, he's going to bid farewell. So you don't have to write everything there. So write what is necessary. So the speaker himself and his hands would be the correct answer. Sub-question C. Why does the speaker describe his hands as bloody? Because the speaker has killed his own brother, Maurice. Therefore, he feels guilty. So he repents for his sudden anger. You know the whole situation and you know the conflict and you know why he has killed his own brother. But we don't expect you to write everything at this level because you have to respond to the given lines. So you have to write only 2 to 3 lines. So that would be a perfect answer. Let's look at a context question on prose. It is okay if I die because it is my job and I'm ready for it. But you are a hero, and if you were to die, it would be a great loss for the country. Sub-question A. From which text is this extract taken? Who wrote it? Yes, what is the name of this extract? Yes, it is taken from The Lahore Attack by Kumar Sangakkara. Or in other words, you can say from The Lahore Attack by Kumar Sangakkara's Colin Coventry lecture. But you have to be really careful when you write the titles. The use of definite article, The Lahore Attack, is really important. Otherwise, you are not going to get marks. Sub-question B. Who speaks these words? To whom are they spoken? Who is the speaker? Is it Kumar Sangakkara? Not really. By the soldier at the checkpoint to Kumar Sangakkara. Yes, these words are spoken by the soldier at the checkpoint to Kumar Sangakkara. So that would be a perfect answer. Sub-question C. what is the speaker's feeling towards the person he speaks to? We have encountered number of feelings like affection, adoration, respect, and high self-esteem. You don't have to write everything because the question says, what is the speaker's feeling? So you can incorporate 2 or 3 feelings. Now let's see my answer. He has a deep sense of admiration and respect towards Kumar Sangakkara. Or else you can say he has a high regard for the game of cricket and cricketers, therefore he has adoration and affection. Do not exceed more than 3 lines. Be accurate and score the maximum possible mark for this question. I absolutely like her. Absolutely. Even though her cheeks are dimpled, I like her. I'm almost ready to let the debt go. Sub-question A. Name the work from which this extract is taken. Who wrote it? Is it taken from Twilight of a Crane? Well, not really. It is taken from the drama. Yes, can you tell me the name of the drama? The Bear by Anton Chekhov. So how can you write the answer? The Bear by Anton Chekhov. Question B. Who is the speaker? About whom does he speak? Who is the speaker? About whom does he speak? Who is the speaker now? Yes, Smirnov is talking. Is he talking to Popov? Or is he talking about Popov? Yes, what is the correct answer? Smirnov talks about Popov. Not to, but about. Because where is Smirnov now? He is just in front of the audience. He is talking to himself. When you deal with dramas, you know there are a lot of monologues where the speakers or the characters, they talk to themselves. Now here, in this instance, Smirnov talks about Popov. So the preposition about is really important. So you have to read your text with a clear understanding. Otherwise, you won't be able to write the answer for that question. Sub-question C. Name at least one literary device used in the extract. What effect does it create? The dramatist used a number of techniques or devices with a purpose in mind. Here you have encountered different techniques like repetition, metaphor, sarcasm, irony. Are you going to write everything? No, because it says at least one. So you can incorporate 2 or 3. So let's look at my answer. Exaggeration and repetition. The 2 literary devices. Exaggeration and repetition. Now remember, the question has 2 parts. You can't just write the answer for the first part and neglect the other part. That is really important because you are talking about the effect. What does it create? Yes, the writers use or the dramatists use certain techniques with a purpose in mind. So what is the effect that it creates in this particular extract? Here it creates humor or sarcasm in the minds of the reader. So you don't have to explain everything. Right up to the point, respond to the given lines. So you can easily score 2 marks by writing the perfect answer. So dear students, we have discussed certain guidelines to face the part 1 section A of your English literature paper with confidence. So whenever you have time, go through the past papers and try to write answers while managing your time. And remember the guidelines that I have given you. In order to become a very good scorer, it's vital for you to go through the guidelines. So obtain a very good pass by scoring the highest mark from part 1 section A of appreciation of English literary text. Hope you have enjoyed the lesson. We'll meet some other time. Until then, bye.
ITV, Central Province Educational Channel, Sri Lanka, powered by Siliconcrib, happens all the time.